It would seem that I've been asleep for a very long time, and the world that I've awoken in is not my own. In its stead is a frozen, icy hellscape unlike anything I've ever seen before. Barren, frozen, unforgiving, and perhaps, most importantly, dangerous above all other things. Things are much different now, and they'll never be the way that they were before. The only thing we can do now is survive. Survive in this nuclear winter. Let's get started. Best we get a move on soon. I already feel the grip of hypothermia taking hold. I need to find a way to get warm, and quick. I wasted absolutely no time getting the hell off this hill that the vault is buried in, making my way back towards my old stomping ground. I used to live here. Feels like a lifetime ago. I'm afraid there's nothing here for me now. Well, there's plenty of wood to make a fire, but no oil or gasoline to start it. If it's still there, the best way for me to get gasoline's at the nearby Red Rocket truck stop, so I started making my way there. During which time in my travels, I came upon a gruesome scene. A dead gentleman with a nice big warm coat next to what appears to be a mutilated mongrel. Ugh, I don't know if I'll ever be able to get the smell out of this coat, but wearing it beats freezing to death out here on the road next to these two. I made it to the gas station, and immediately I encountered a mutt. I thought for sure I'd have to blast it in the head, just like the one I saw down the road, but this little fellow, or fellowette, appears to be friendly.
Okay then.
And if we keep it fed, hopefully it'll stay that way. Thankfully, along with some oil, there was a good bit of scrap wood here for us to make a fire with. I'm sure you can imagine the look on my face once I finally got it lit and started warming up. I can't even begin to express to you just how scared I was we'd end up becoming a frozen corpse-sicle like those that we had encountered. As I was examining the perimeter of the gas station here, we were attacked by some large, gap-toothed, mole-looking creatures. To conserve ammo, and not to give away our position to any ne'er-do-wells, I bashed their heads in with a tire iron. Thankfully, even due to the damage that they had sustained, we could eat off bits and pieces of their corpse this evening. Roasting them rotisserie style over our campfire, we would end up getting some nice big meat chunks. Now that I've gotten myself as well as my new canine companion warm by the fire, and our bellies full, I could think with a clear head. I ended up throwing down my jumpsuit and ripping it into pieces for cloth. That way I can use it to make myself a nice cap with a mask. We can't sit by the fire here at the truck stop indefinitely, and since we're going to be moving around a lot, given our current environmental conditions, I need a way to keep the snow and the frozen wind out of my eyes. Now with our new fancy faceware, it's time for us to move out once more before it gets dark. If we're going to survive this frozen hell, we're going to need some food and water as well as medicine. Luckily, a nearby water tower, I would end up finding some medical resources as well as a good bit of purified water. The only issue was that most of this purified water was frozen and would continue freezing unless I thawed it out by a campfire. There were no alcoholic beverages here, which was such a shame, as they would temporarily provide me with a warm and fuzzy feeling. I left the water tower with many a useful item in my pocket, and as I continued out due west, I spotted a large tower. Even worse so, it appears to be a large populated tower. As you could imagine, given the circumstances, I was quite wary of strangers, though they had already spotted me, and they also appeared to be friendly, as they didn't start shooting at me right away. After speaking with them, apparently they claimed to be farmers. Now, given their surroundings, I don't think they're doing much growing anymore, but I'll take their word for it. Unfortunately, they didn't have any food or water to spare in their leaky little shack, but they did tell me of Diamond City. They referred to it as the Great Green Jewel. It appears to be a rather large town right in the middle of Boston. According to them, it's safe and civilized, just the kind of place I need. Before I would be on my way, I ended up making some more food outside by their cooking pot, and I warmed myself up a bit. The farmers also warned me that the long trek to Boston would be tedious and extremely dangerous, so I decided to head up north a bit, climbing up these mountains in search of more resources. I almost immediately spotted someone over the river who apparently had the same idea as me. Since I don't know if these folks are friendly, I decided to go up the hill and try to sneak around, during which time they spotted my dog and started shooting at him. I would have to leap into action if I wanted to stop him from going into their stew pot tonight. I was outnumbered and outgunned, but I wouldn't let that stop me. Bullets would whiz by my head as I was trying to find my footing in the snow, and better yet, trying to take cover. After emptying out a few magazines, the raiders were no more. Such needless violence, but they forced my hand. I couldn't let them kill my only friend that I had made so far. As we were stripping and looting their corpses, a blizzard began setting in. My visibility was completely obscured, so much so that even with my goggles, I could barely see the shotgun I had acquired. There were no camping tents up here or shelters, so the safest course of action was going to be for us to get off this mountain and find somewhere safe for the night. After arriving at the riverbank through the thick snow, I spotted a pre-war APC. If it's not locked up tight, this could be the perfect shelter for tonight. You know what, on second thought, I'd rather not get radiation sickness that would prevent me from waking up from my sleep or living anymore. Thankfully, we had already circled back towards my old hometown, where I could actually make myself some proper camping equipment like a makeshift tent. It ain't much and it's far from perfect, but it is the best that we could do on short notice. I decided to camp out in a small dry area in the river's bend. Surely nobody would be foolish enough to swim down here given the temperature. And once again, after traveling all evening, I could finally warm myself once more. Once I had dinner, it was time for bed. I awoke feeling rather refreshed, which was great because I would need it, as I was immediately attacked by a large fly flinging its own feces at me. Man-eating fly, dead. Blizzard, it's past. I can finally see once more, and that also means that I can see to go into Sanctuary to start scrapping up all my old neighbors' furniture. They wouldn't need it anymore, and I could really use the wood and cloth to go about making myself some more camping equipment. As I was cobbling it together, I realized on top of my mild hypothermia, I also appear to have contracted trench foot, no doubt from traversing the river all night long to my temporary encampment. I retraced my steps, bringing me back to the Red Rocket truck stop so I could grab the remaining items that I needed from here, and I could also warm up by my campfire before I headed into the city. With that, I started following the roads all the way to Boston. First, though, we would end up encountering Concord. In the distance, I could hear gunfire. Naturally, I was on high alert. Even with a thick fog, I could see silhouettes running around in the distance. It doesn't seem that they've noticed me, and it's just two groups having a bit of a scuffle. I had absolutely no interest in getting in between whatever's happening here, so I started sneaking around their backs to get the hell out of Concord immediately. Thankfully, I was never spotted. A few miles down the road, though, I encountered a local junkyard with a fellow who appears to be cooking a stew of his own. I approached with my pistol drawn, but shockingly, he didn't even seem to care about anything.
Fine, whatever. Just stop bugging me.
Given his laid-back attitude, I warmed up by his fire, and he even pointed me in the direction of Lexington. With that, I would head out on my adventure once more, following the roadway and the ancient-looking billboards into the city. Now, I'm no fool. I knew that this wouldn't be the safest or even the fastest way to Boston, but it would be my best chance at finding more supplies, and I definitely needed food and water if I was going to make it there in one piece. I made my way to Slocum Joe's, where I would indeed find a few scraps of food. I went down into the basement, and I was quite cautious of anyone or anything that might be looking to harm me. There wasn't much down here, but I did end up finding some water, thankfully. Then I continued into the city, where I was immediately ambushed by some people who were looking a little worse for wear, and they were also coming right for me. Come to think of it, I don't think they were people at all. I rushed into the Super Duper Mart, but this place didn't seem to be safe either. Even worse, I had severe hypothermia, and I had just run out of ammo. I ran to hide from the creatures, and on one of the shelves in the mart I found myself some wine. After drinking it, I had just enough warmth to get myself out of here. Walking along the road, I spotted a wooden crate, and within, I found 2 Molotov cocktails. Desperate and out of options, I ended up lighting a tree on fire. This fire wouldn't stay lit for long, but it would end up saving me from hypothermia. I continued following the road due south, and in the distance, I could spot several fires lit at a junkyard. The alluring thought of more heat drawing me in, I would still proceed quite cautiously, especially after spotting 2 dead men at the entrance. Luckily, it seems like the only inhabitants here are some filthy mole rats burrowing underground. Naturally, I started bashing their brains out. They would once again prove themselves useful as dinner. I started heating myself up once more by a consistent fire. The nauseating, cancerous smell of burning tires was a small price to pay for not freezing to death. As I continued searching throughout the rest of the junkyard, I found quite a few boxes of ammunition. Perfect, as I think I'm going to need them going into the city. Speaking of which, Boston sure looks a lot different than I remember it. So far, this has only been the tip of the iceberg. God only knows what type of cruel bastards wait for us here. After taking a few moments to collect my thoughts and mentally prepping myself, I was off. I was headed straight for the heart of Boston. Diamond City, here I come. Such a sad sight to see our once thriving New England city caked in chaos and dismay. I suppose nowhere is safe from the end of the world, though. With loud fighting and gunfire in the distance as I snuck my way through the city's streets, I spotted some unfortunate souls that I wasn't looking to tangle with. Some folks weren't willing to respect my wishes, though. It was at this point that I threw down and threw away any prospect of making allies in the city. Everything and everyone here was trying to kill one another, and for obvious reasons, I was included in this twisted circle of life. I had no interest in having firefights with these disgusting folk, but since they forced my hand, I suppose they don't need their medical supplies or ammunition anymore. Besides, I think I needed it a bit more than they did. As you can see, I have gangrene, but I am on the upswing. The deeper I found myself in Boston, the deeper the corruption and chaos went. My canine and I would find ourselves in yet another firefight with a band of bastards. Thankfully, they were as untrained and undisciplined as they were twisted and ugly, and when faced with the skills of a real combat veteran, they failed in comparison. Once they and their defenses were finally taken care of, we could rest up by a warm, burning barrel. Keeping a cautious eye out for any other interlopers, we would also nourish ourselves during this time. We spent so much time in this raider outpost, hours would pass, and a large blizzard would start to set in. Visibility was completely shot, and trying to move anywhere in this would be a fool's errand, meaning we should be safe to set up camp for a while. Finally, that camping equipment we threw together in Sanctuary would come in handy. For the next several hours, I would rest periodically, waiting for the blizzard to pass and keeping watch. Eventually, night had fallen across the city. The only thing dumber than moving throughout this city that's chock full of murderers, raiders, and cannibals during a blizzard is doing so at night. But that's exactly what we were going to do. The thought process here is that it's so dumb, in fact, no one would actually expect us to do it. Unfortunately, we were met with some raiders across the bridge that we would have to take care of. After that, though, we were sneaking through a back alley when I spotted what appeared to be a hairless bear sleeping in the snow. We found it best not to wake this hibernating beast, so I tiptoed around it. Also made sure my dog didn't notice it. No sudden noises or moves. Eventually, downtown Boston, I spotted some more folks, but these weren't raiders. Initially, I thought about greeting them, but upon closer inspection, something tells me that these folks aren't too keen on visitors either. They look to be taking over this building, but I'll never sneak through here without being noticed. Freezing and in the dark, out of options, I decided to take matters into my own hands. As I suspected, these folks were much better prepared for a fight than any normal raiders, but that grenade I chucked in between them seemed to do the trick, as well as a few shotgun shells. scratch that actually. I needed to save ammo. Speaking of which, they had some pretty interesting weapons as well as ammunition on their persons. I'm not exactly familiar with laser tech, but I'm sure I can figure it out in a pinch. Oh, I also ended up getting my dog a bandana. I'm not the only one that has to stay warm. As I continued through the shady, dark corners of the city, I spotted a neon light, quite literally. At first, I thought it was a trick. A place called Goodneighbor, the entrance littered by raider corpses. Perhaps it wasn't too good to be true, though. A nice, civilized place. Somewhere we could sit down, get some food, drink some water, maybe even a few alcoholic beverages, and warm ourselves up without the fear of being castrated. Finally, some comfort in the chaos, some hospitality in all this horror. Oh.
Now don't let this incident taint your view of our little community. Good neighbors of the people, for the people. You feel me? Everyone's welcome.
Well, at the end of the day, he seemed nice enough. Besides, who was I to get in the way of a little bit of a political disagreement, or whatever that was? I was just happy to have a warm place to stay where folks weren't, well, maybe weren't trying to rip my guts out. At least the chances of that happening were a little bit lower inside the community. I would end up spotting a locally owned hotel. The world may have went to shit, but it seems that capitalism will always prevail. Could be nice to finally sleep in a proper bed for the first time in a very long time. I entered the fine establishment and the place smelled like cigarettes and mildew. Ah, Boston. I suppose some things never change, eh? I decided to pop a squat in the lobby before renting a room just to kinda take the edge off and ease my troubled mind for a bit. It's been a long couple of days. This is the first time since waking up that I've actually been able to relax for a moment. I tried to take it all in. Something tells me that Boston isn't exactly chock full of nights like these, and this will probably be the last one I have for a while. Even so, I was starting to feel a little drowsy. Time to get a room, I guess.
The room is on the top floor. When you come to the hallway, it's the last one on the right.
It wasn't exactly the cleanest place. It kinda reminded me of the Concord Colonial Inn, if it had been burned down and then refurnished with the burnt furniture. Well, it is a different world than the one I knew, and I suppose I should just make the best out of a bad situation. Besides, this is the first actual bed I've slept in, so better than nothing. Alright then, it's time for some shut-eye. By the time I finally awoke, I was feeling bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. Before I continue my journey to Diamond City, perhaps I'll take a look around and see what Goodneighbor has to offer. I saw a group of townspeople gathering up in the street and decided to join them. Turns out, it's our pirate-dressed friend who stabbed a gentleman over me last night, giving some type of speech about a conspiracy. Something about some place called the Institute. Between you and me, I kinda think it's a crock of shit, but, you know, we'll let him believe whatever he likes. He did save our life. After that, I spotted a place called the Memory Den. Supposedly, they have some kind of machine in there that'll help you relive the memories in your old noggin. I'm not too interested. If I really want to get another double dose of PTSD from the Battle of Anchorage, I'll just take another little lively stroll through the streets of Boston. I did mosey on over to the local general store though, and I ended up selling a few things off. In exchange for some of the weapons that I've gathered up along my journey, I would end up purchasing some purified water to do me until I get to Diamond City. Right after that, I went next door to a local firearms store. It's good to see, even in these conditions, that the Second Amendment is alive and well. Unfortunately, I didn't have enough cash to go about buying anything, but I did get hit on by an oddly sexy killing machine.
I'm a woman, baby. Can't you tell?
There's something a bit off.
Must be the fumes from all these deadly instruments I'm selling. Everyone always wants a free peek.
Well, after talking with the townsfolk and trying to barter a bit, I think it's time we head back out on our journey. I began venturing outside the walls and safety of Goodneighbor, immediately encountering a pack of glowing mole rats, which granted is much more dangerous than it sounds. As I was fleeing from them, I would also encounter some large green men who started shooting at me, as well as the mole rats. Luckily, it seems that I've turned them against one another, and I'm free to go. As I continued making my way through the city, I spotted what could only be described as a raider den. However, the way around it was a shortcut through the park. So, obviously, I went with the safer solution. Oh, fuck. This ended up being a silly little mistake, and a great big giant started throwing rocks at me as I hid. I started pelting it with my pistol, but I think I might have been better off trying to tickle it to death. Our epic battle was interrupted by a petty, pathetic raider with a pool cue who also needed to be put down. She wasn't alone though, so I put a bullet in her friend's head, and after killing both of the raiders, well, I don't know what happened to the giant because I didn't go back to check. You know, the closer we get to Diamond City and the deeper into Boston we go, the worse things seem to be. Assuming those farmers a few days ago weren't just blowing smoke up my ass and Diamond City is a real place, I'll be shocked if it isn't populated with these mutated freaks. I have been sneaking down alleyways and around street corners for hours at this point, and I was getting cold. Very cold. These raider camps were starting to look a little bit inviting, except for all the hanging corpses and machine gun turrets. I was becoming exhausted, and worst of all, it would seem my hypothermia isn't getting any better. I had somewhat prepared for this scenario by bringing along a gas canister. After a bullet or two, it would finally light, and I'd be able to warm up, even if only briefly. Unfortunately though, this gas wouldn't last long enough for me to overcome hypothermia. Desperate times, as they say. The idea was to kill the raiders, blow up their turret, and then, before I moved on, warm myself up by the fire that it caused. Before I could make my way up the fire escape though, one of those mutated fellows blew themselves, and a lot of other people it would seem, up in the alley. There was one more remaining, but he was quite injured, so after a few cracks from the old laser pistol, I put him out of his misery. I must say that I've never had to work so damn hard for a fire before in my entire life. But that being said, I've never needed one this bad either. You know the drill by this point. The mutt and I warmed up for about an hour or two, and then we headed out again. As we were heading out, I spotted some of the weapons that these raiders had been crafting for themselves, one of which being a rifle with a scope. The design is very human and crude, but I suppose it is a scope nonetheless. We'll take it with us. The scope was perfect. Not only could I deal with an enemy from a good distance now, but I could also use it to scout out rooftops for any raiders' snipers on my way to Diamond City. It was quite literally a lifesaver. I would also encounter a man wearing some type of uniform strolling through the streets. Apparently he was looking for some place I had never even heard of. Wait a minute. Look how clean his attire is. That's gotta be highly unusual around here. I don't think I've seen a clean shirt since before I was frozen. Wait a minute. Could he be one of those Institute people that the angry pirate man was talking about? Well, we'll never know because he scampered off before I could ask him any more questions. As I continued my journey, I spotted a baseball sign. We must be pretty close to the city now. And indeed we were. After I turned the corner, I spotted a sign for Diamond City. There it... Wait a minute. This is just a pile of junk. I spotted a man getting throttled by some mongrel dogs, so I rushed in to come to his aid. After helping him put down these radioactive rabies bags, he ended up telling me this is indeed not Diamond City, as we already presumed. This is a junkyard, and Diamond City's just up the road. Apparently, I should follow the signs. And so I would. There it is. This time, for real. Diamond City. We had finally arrived at the great green jewel of the Commonwealth. It wasn't quite as green or jewel-like as I had anticipated, but the journey to get here was well worth it, if it is indeed as civilized as they say. I spoke to a lady at the door who helped me gain entry into the city.
I just got here, but yeah.
Ma'am, please, I'm literally freezing to death. They ended up letting us both in, and I had the honor of meeting the mayor once stepping foot inside.
You look like Diamond City material. Welcome to the great green jewel of the Commonwealth.
Yeah, I heard that part already.
I'm sure your city's a great place.
This is the safest place in all the Commonwealth, with the strongest community and highest standards of living available. We have stores, doctors, schools, power, running water, and the wall. as our sacred protector.
Almost sounded too good to be true. As you could imagine, everything we've went through so far had me a bit skeptical. But I must say that I was pleasantly surprised. It was everything that they said it was. A thriving city. It was safe, secure, with all the amenities that anyone could ask for. After seeing it in the flesh, I almost felt silly for doubting the rumors. They had everything. An armed police force, nice, warm food and drinks, and perhaps best of all, warmth, heat. Completely free and abundant around literally every corner. It was everything they said it would be, and more. Given the state of the world, it was amazing. But now, the question remains, what's next for me? Now that I'm part of an actual community and a society, I suppose I should start contributing. It's time for me to find my way in this world, even if it's not the one that I left so many years ago. See you later. Wait, oh shit, maybe I should find my son. Never mind. Hey, look who it is. Looking for the mod list so that you can play along in this nuclear winter just as I have? Well, if you want that, you're gonna need to go over to the Hardcore Halflings channel, because that's where I got it from, and you can find a link to his video in the comment section, as well as the video description. And be sure to drop him a like and a subscription over there while you're there. A major shout out to Hardcore Halfling for showing off these mods on his channel, inspiring me to even use them. And also a major shout out to you for watching the video, and to our wonderful patrons for making it all possible. As always, I love you guys, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.